Welcome, embodied ones. Welcome, remembering ones. There are some transmissions that arrive not because they are easy to say, but because the collective can no longer afford to keep worshipping what is hollow. This is one of those transmissions. I came through as a witnessing of the spiritual inversion of this era, an era in which image is often valued more than integrity, accumulation more than restoration, and performance more than wholeness. This is not a transmission against beauty, wealth, or comfort. Rather, it is a transmission about what happens when those things are pursued without conscience, without depth, and without love embodied strongly enough to care whether humanity as a whole is actually healing. If this reaches you, take only what resonates in truth, and let the rest pass by. And now we begin. The following is a divine transmission on spiritual inversion, false success, and what humanity has forgotten. They sell the dream while the people suffer. There is a profound inversion in this world where people are taught to chase the image of success, while the actual conditions required for life remain unstable, underfunded, and unprotected. Many sell dreams, not only courses, not only luxury lifestyles, not only the fantasy of wealth. They sell desirability, they sell status, they sell the image of being chosen, they sell the performance of freedom, they sell curated ease, they sell optimization as enlightenment, they sell visibility as value, they sell power without depth, they sell aspiration without scaffolding, they sell the illusion that arrival can be purchased, branded, performed, or consumed. They sell the right face, the right home, the right body, the right partner, the right trip, the right level of ease, the right distance from ordinary struggle. They sell exceptionality. They sell escape. They sell superiority disguised as aspiration. They sell a life that appears untouchable, desirable, and above the ache of being human. They sell elitism disguised as empowerment. They sell self-optimization without soul. They sell the illusion that money, beauty, access, or branding can make a person whole. But wholeness is not for sale, and neither is real freedom. This is the great seduction of the era. Not simply wealth, but the marketing of an entire false life as though external success could replace inner coherence. Entire cultures now sell the same lie in different costumes. That life is about acquisition, status, upgrading, outperforming, appearing chosen, and proving worth through visible markers of success. So, people compete. They compete for the best homes, the best vacations, the most desirable partners, the most enviable children, the right schools, the right image, the right accessories, the right body, the right life on display. Meanwhile, the deeper purpose of being here is forgotten. And that forgetting has consequences. Because spiritual immaturity with material wealth is not a flex. Hoarding wealth while humanity still has not stabilized around the most basic human rights for all is not alignment. Luxury without conscience is not abundance. It is disconnection, dressed beautifully enough to be admired. And the distortion is not limited to influencers, moguls, or the visibly wealthy. It has entered every layer of society. It lives in comparison. It lives in striving without soul. It lives in households where image matters more than peace. It lives in parents forced into endless labor just to afford basics, while being separated from their children during the very years those children most need their presence. It lives in people who have made it materially, yet cannot recognize caregiving, community, and sacred responsibility as some of the holiest acts a human being can offer. That is the wound. We have been taught to admire accumulation while neglecting restoration. We reward the appearance of freedom, while real human beings remain trapped in instability. We glamorize wealth, while entire communities remain under-supported, underheld, and spiritually malnourished. And then we call this civilization. But what kind of civilization worships luxury while mothers collapse, children are underraised, neighbors go unhoused, the addicted go underloved, and the wounded are given only enough support to remain visible, but not enough to truly heal? This is not true success. This is a society confused about value, because money does not equate wholeness, and lack of it does not equate a lesser human. A person with wealth can be deeply fragmented. A person with very little can carry more wisdom, humanity, and sacred depth than an entire room of curated success. So, what exactly are we measuring? What exactly have we decided to praise? Because if the metric is more money, more things, more status, more image, more display, more separation from the ordinary responsibilities of love, then yes, we are losing what life was actually for. Life was never meant to become a spiritual game of Monopoly. It was never about keeping up with the Joneses, never about winning comparison, never about turning the self into a commodity while the soul quietly starves. It was never about handing children over to systems, screens, or strangers, because the culture has made hyperproductivity more honored than presence. It was never about forcing people into labor before their bodies, spirits, or nervous systems have stabilized enough to remember who they are. It was never about proving worth through ownership, while forgetting that every being here is already sacred. What people actually need is not more aspiration. They need time, stability, beauty, rest, nervous system repair, safe housing, real community, gentle support, dignity, and enough love to stop performing survival. That is luxury in its redeemed form. Not excess for the insulated, not aesthetics without ethics, not wealth signaling, but the luxury of being held long enough to become whole. The luxury of healing without being rushed back into performance. The luxury of mothering and fathering as sacred acts, not secondary ones. The luxury of children being raised by regulated, present, loving adults. The luxury of communities that do not extract from pain, but help transmute it. The luxury of remembering that our neighbors are not competition. They are our brothers and sisters in spirit. And if they cannot heal, we have failed something holy. Humanity is not suffering only from poverty of money. It is suffering from poverty of depth, poverty of reverence, poverty of purpose, poverty of values clean enough to build a world worthy of children. We, as a society, are chasing all the wrong things. We chase wealth without wisdom, status without service, luxury without conscience, advancement without embodiment, visibility without virtue, contact without coherence. And many still do not understand. There is no chance at collective ascension without embodied love for one another. Not theoretical love, not spiritual branding, not selective compassion. Embodied love. Love that protects children. Love that stabilizes the vulnerable. Love that restores the wounded. Love that refuses to let wealth calcify in the hands of a few, while entire communities remain without dignity, healing, and support. Some hoard wealth and then willingly spend it on cosmically laughable pursuits of higher intelligence contact, perceived advancement, or elite access to greater knowledge without understanding that the realms of higher intelligence are not opened through greed, status, or private conquest. They remain blocked until a civilization becomes coherent enough to live in right relationship with itself. Because higher intelligence is not reached through accumulation alone. It is reached through maturity, through reverence, through collective responsibility, through a species becoming capable of love deep enough to stop abandoning its own. A civilization cannot bypass its own cruelty and expect access to higher orders of intelligence. The gate to higher intelligence is not blocked by lack of technology. It is blocked by lack of coherence. No true higher realm is impressed by a civilization that can build rockets, but not regulated homes. They can fund luxury obsession, but not communal healing. They can chase contact with the stars while failing the people sleeping on its own streets. The gate is not opened by money. It is opened by coherence. And coherence begins in how we treat one another here. That is the deeper emergency. Not simply who has more, but that we built a world where more became the altar, while love, care, healing, and communal responsibility were treated as optional. This is the inversion. And it will not be corrected through more branding, more status worship, more luxury obsession, or more self-optimization in service of image. It will be corrected when we remember what is sacred. A child held in safety is sacred. A mother given time to heal is sacred. A father or guardian present enough to protect and nurture is sacred. A nervous system restored before it is asked to produce is sacred. Housing with dignity is sacred. Beauty that helps the broken return to life is sacred. Money used as a tool for restoration rather than superiority is sacred. Communities that help people become whole are sacred. Until then, many will continue selling dreams while the people suffer. But the soul can feel the lie now, and more are beginning to remember. Life was never about accumulation without depth, never about status without service, never about comfort without conscience. It was always about becoming whole enough to help life become whole around us. Ashe. Amen. Selah. If this found you, may it return you more deeply to what is actually sacred. Much love to all who walk the path of remembrance. May all who encounter these words remember the light within them. And if your spirit recognizes this field and feels called to remain with these transmissions, you are welcome here. May all remember that love is the baseline and that it is yours in abundance to embody freely in thought, in action, and in the way you move through this world.